Well, good morning, you sexy Mother Hubbards. It's 4:45 in the morning as I'm recording this. Why am I awake now? Why am I up in my car? Because my beloved daughter kept me awake throughout the night by kicking me in the kidneys. What a precious gem she is. Anyway, it's time for an alternative paper review. First up to the Daily Express this morning. Voting reform risks losing hundreds of Tory MPs for a generation. Oh, dear. This is the latest chapter in the Daily Express's media campaign to scare tactic to project fear their readers into abandoning support for reform, which would split the right vote, and instead show some love to their ventriloquist operator, CCHQ. It is also, concurrently, Kemi Badenoch's leadership campaign. This is the third day in a row now that Kemi Badenoch has been on the front page of the Daily Express. Which is funny, because it's tantamount to saying, please don't split off and go and support the other guys. Divided parties don't win. It's time to come together, but also the Conservative Party is absolutely fucked. Who's going to be the next leader? Rishi Sunak is toast. Maybe you could support this lady, or maybe this one. Quite hilariously, other leadership campaigns are also beginning, even before the election results are announced. I mean, just consider for a second what an electoral campaign is supposed to be. It's supposed to be you setting out your stall with your ideas and your policies as to how you would improve the country, how you would make life better for your citizens, for your voters. But what are we actually seeing from the Conservative Party? Just a slew of hyperbolic, hysterical, self-preservationist nonsense. Over to the Daily Mail now. Britain's forces are not ready for conflict of any scale. And this is obviously the very conservative, pro-armed forces Daily Mail, clutching their pearls at the state of the armed forces and indeed the vulnerability of the United Kingdom at this moment of great geopolitical tumult. There's lots of talk about a depleted British military left unable to defend itself through a lack of funding. Which, do you know what, guys? I accept that Britain needs to be able to defend herself. I accept that we need a nuclear deterrent. What I find a little difficult to accept is that after 14 years of austerity and governments, successive governments, underfunding the armed forces to the extent that now we are left militarily vulnerable, I find it a little bit difficult to accept, to fathom how this is now suddenly Labour's fault. I mean, does this ex-MOD chief's conclusion place any responsibility at the feet of the successive Conservative administrations who have underfunded the armed forces? No, apparently not. It's all down to this Labour spending shortfall, a budget that will take place in the future. Hasn't even happened yet. But we are now vulnerable, right now, this second, due to something that hasn't yet even been elected or confirmed yet. Somehow it's Labour's fault. Over to the FT now. Supreme Court hands Trump broad immunity over actions as president. Indeed, this is the story that Donald Trump, former president of the United States, he lost the presidency in 2020. Then he administered a January the 6th insurrection you may have read about. Well, he is currently being prosecuted for that, but also stealing sensitive documents. He's also being charged with trying to force Georgia officials to find him 10,000 more votes so he could steal Georgia. Well, the Supreme Court have just decided that anything that he does or did while president, he can't be charged with. He effectively is above the law with anything that is deemed an official act that took place while he was president, or while he was still, by a hair's breadth, still president. What does this mean for the future of the United States of America? Well, it looks pretty bleak to me. It effectively means that anything you do while you're president, you can get away with. he could literally assassinate someone. And this is true of Biden as well, right now, you know. Think of all the concerns of Biden's mental health, of his cognitive ability at the moment, and think about the mistakes that he could make or the irrational acts that he could decide to take. Like, I'm going to have this guy killed. I'm going to disband this institution. I'm going to put my son in charge of this entity. All of that, no court really has any jurisdiction over him now. So yes, if you need it spelling out to you, the America of last week, where the president, the commander-in-chief, was still subject to the same checks and balances, laws and courts as everybody else, that America no longer exists. The new America that all American citizens live in now is effectively, ostensibly, a different place. It is now basically going over the bell curve into a dictatorship. And, unsurprisingly, Donald Trump has hailed the court verdict as a victory for freedom. Right. Yes, it's a victory for your freedom. Certainly. While Biden has reacted by saying the Trump immunity ruling sets a dangerous precedent for the United States and indeed the world. You know, when you consider where we are at the moment, we've got France, who are looking like they are going to move aggressively into far-right territory. We've got the United States. It's looking plausible that Donald Trump could retake the White House and would enjoy all of these dictator-like powers. The European elections the other week seemed to tilt further and further into hard right territory. It honestly feels like the only place that is moving more leftward now is the United Kingdom, which perhaps somewhat surprisingly, uncharacteristically, yields feelings of pride, of patriotism from me, you know? Are we now the geopolitical beacon of democracy? You know, forget unchecked power over here from this president, forget hard right over. Here we are, we're like, yep, we're still sane. We have a left-leaning government about to come in. We are a beacon of democracy. And then I remember, no, we still have a monarchy. We still have a magical king.
Trump is gonna take the White House. Somebody better get the fucking wine now. They want a dictator.